I'll go ahead and open the meeting, call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is claims.
I'll make a motion to, in a moment. I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
It's been moved, I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I guess the only discussion we really have is that we need to start getting claims in so we don't have to have special meetings. Other than that, any other discussion? Not hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda we have is the cooling tower, or the coolers over there at the jail.
As you know, we had a compressor go out. We're down to one. And I had Rick come to this meeting to discuss our options of what we can do from here on out. So I'm gonna let him try to explain it to you. In fact, I've got, you both have looked at that, haven't you?
I've already read it.
Yeah, when Jody called us, we started looking at the compressor for replacement. And when the cost started getting up there, it's like, okay, I started doing some more digging into the entire thing, and the unit's 14 years old, expected life is 15 years old. This one's had kind of a hard life because we had to replace the coils after the hailstorm, so that means we've already broken into the system at least once, if not twice, to fix other leaks. We know the compressor's out. We know the logic board, the main brain that reads your diagnostics to us to tell us what's wrong with it, is out. And we also pretty sure we have at least one more board out that it controls the VFD on one of the condenser fan motors, and it's not working on the side that is working. So we started getting up just the compressor alone with refrigerant replacement, checking, charging. We were hitting $40,000. So I said, okay, we're at the end of the life. Let's compare it to a new one. And that's what I did, is I put together a price. I called Halverson Train, got a price for a replacement. Reason I stuck with the Train product is so it would tie into your existing building automation system, because it's the Train controls, so that they communicate easier. And I think that price ended up, by the time we figured it out, we could do it for just under $100,000. So we're going to be at almost 50% of the replacement cost of a new unit by the time we do the compressor, and then we move into the electronics to start fixing those at a 15-year-old unit. So the major difference with the new one is the current chiller you have now has an outside unit, and then there's what they call a remote evaporator, which is inside in the basement. The refrigerant lines from the outdoor unit are piped all the way into the basement to that evaporator, and then your chilled water is circulated through that system. Looking at the cost of either piping the chilled water out to the new unit or replacing the refrigerant lines because of the change in refrigerants, it was more cost effective to actually bring the chilled water out and put glycol into the system. Glycol will not only help protect it, it has inhibitors in it to stop rust and corrosion, plus it allows it to sit outside without freezing up. We're estimating a 30% glycol solution we'd put in the chilled water loop that would protect it down to like 0, and then at 0 it would go to like a slushy mixture. It wouldn't freeze solid and bust the evaporator. I checked the pumps that are installed in the building against the original design for pump curves, and you're operating well below what they were designed for. So by adding the 30% glycol, we're still fine. The existing pumps will work. The only thing in talking with Train is we would probably have to look at lowering the chilled water temperature. Right now you run about a 45, 46 degree chilled water to cool the building. We can take that all the way down to 38 to 36 now to get better performance for the building, but we don't have to. We typically have to drop it about 1 to 2 degrees, so we could go to 42, 43, and everything's just fine. So we don't have to do a lot of major changes in the building. It's just get the old one staged out, get the new one in. We have to cut into the return line and pipe about 300 feet of 4-inch pipe. As you read in the proposal I gave you, we kind of set it up on a phasing in and phasing out, because right now you got one compressor running. If that compressor goes down, you're dead in the water. And talking with Dave, your inmates are gonna have to be moved out because you won't have cooling in the building. What I'm proposing is we get the chiller ordered, because that's anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We think we can push it to 4 weeks and at least have it on site here. And in that meantime, I would schedule guys, start the piping, get the piping all run, and then when we get closer to the end of cooling season, when we can actually shut it down, that's when we would plan to cut the lines, do the tie-ins, swap the chiller out, and get everything started up and ready for next season. If we hit an emergency that your last compressor or the last unit, the side of the unit went down, then we could step up our efforts, move into a full scale, and be ready and have it changed out within a day, probably 2 to 3 days at the max. Where if it went down today, you're gonna be down for 4 to 6 weeks before I can get a unit here. And what we would have to do at that point would be hire a portable chiller on a semi-trailer to come in, and we would have to run temporary lines inside, cut in, and that would be quite expensive. I would estimate anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a day to put a temporary chiller in there.
If you didn't put a temporary though, and you went right back to putting a condenser in, how long would that take? And
Compressor, they don't make that unit anymore. I can still get a compressor. A compressor is 3 to 4 weeks.
so it's gonna be time.
We're kind of in a position here where we have some control over making this happen.
But if we're down, we're down.
But if you're down, you're down. That's why I kind of pushed this to Dave and Jody, and they said we better talk to supervisors and see if we can get at least a plan in place and start the motions going. That's kind of where we're at. And I'd hate to see us put a compressor in and then still have to replace it, because it's 15 years old, it's R22, they're not using it anymore. R22 now is over $50 to $60 a pound. And that unit probably holds 130 to 140 pounds total, so it's probably got 70 pounds on each side. That's a chunk of money. And
So
that's
we
why
have to have some
compressor.
Holy Marys until, for about
Well,
4
we
or
just
5
cross our
weeks.
fingers and keep it going, keep the coils clean, keep the
Yeah.
cottonwood out, and start the plan in place. If we can get through the next 4 weeks, get that unit here, by then at least we have a plan in place that if it does go down, it's only 2 or 3 days, and then we can have you up and running again.
Right.
On the human services building, we put a different throw switch with a glycol on the outside, still water on the inside, right?
Okay, that's a totally different system. That's a cooling tower,
Okay.
where it actually uses the tower water as a fluid to cool the inside. Each individual room has a different air conditioning and heating unit.
Okay.
This one is one central chilled water unit. It's a complete packaged refrigerant. It cools the water that is circulated directly to the air handlers. There are no compressors in between. You have one unit that does all the cooling instead
Okay.
of multiple units.
Okay. One question, do we have to take this for open bids over a certain dollar amount if we were to go with a new one? Do you know?
I called and I didn't get the response because they were in a meeting, but going from memory, I believe as long as you don't cross, I thought it was 125, but I wanted to verify and make sure it wasn't 100 for a purchase, that you didn't have to. I would say if you're looking at less than 100,000, you should be okay, and if I find out different, I'll let you know immediately.
Okay. I know we've tried before, we've tried to get other companies to even give us bids. We can't even get bids anywhere. I had another question, I don't remember what it was right off the top of my head. That was the big one. We're not gonna take an action on this today, but we can put it on Wednesday's meeting.
Mhm.
By then, we should have that answer, for sure. But even if,
I should have that answer today because they were just in a departmental meeting for everybody that works there.
okay,
So we can do that, put it on the agenda for action on Wednesday.
I wonder if we should still try to get another bid in before Wednesday? Or is that not enough time to even?
I don't know if it'd be enough.
Good
time.
luck.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm just saying that because
we
it's.
went through this in the past,
Right.
and the people who have even attempted a bid are from Des Moines, about the closest one. And you run into the risk of, every time somebody comes from Des Moines, you got trip charge, and it just doesn't work. And most of those guys down there could care less about us up here.
Okay.
Personally, I like having Rick here because when I call him, he's coming.
Oh, I just want to get this as fast as we can, and if we do find
And-
out that we need bids, let's have another bid
Right.
present if we could.
We're doing some work for the schools in Iowa Falls, and as she said, I think the threshold is that 120 to 150. It used to be 100,000. A few years ago, they upped it a little bit.
Okay.
I don't care either way. If Jody wants to get another bid, I can help him find some companies that could possibly do that. That's not an issue. Talking with the engineers at Train, typically a consultant's going to come in and tell you it's $500 per ton, and it's $500 per ton to install it. So it's going to be at least $100,000. We're local. We're able to save some costs on travel and everything. So, we're just at that mark.
So you're under 100 is what you're saying?
We're just right there. We know right where it's at.
Yeah, I'm curious and trying to get it fixed as soon as we can. I guess my input to it is, I think it'd be wasteful to fix it. It needs to be replaced.
I think you're crazy to put half the cost of a 15-year-old unit into it.
Yeah, I would think that too.
And it's gonna take some fun work for us because we can't get a crane back in that alley anymore, so we have to manhandle it out.
We need to knock a building down, do we?
No. But we are gonna pull it out to the street with a pickup. Or a Bobcat.
Oh, hang on a sec. Hey, Brian? Yep. Did you want to hear any on this? We're talking about this heating and cooling right now. You want me to put you on speaker and listen? Okay. Brian just called in. So if you want to repeat anything.
What would you like to know, Brian?
Well, I was gonna call in at night and my phone updated for 15 minutes, so I've been scrambling around here. So, I think I'm pretty well up to speed on that, but, you can update me just a second.
Okay, well, I was just talking to everybody about the age of the unit, the cost to repair the compressor, and we still have some unknowns in the unit. We could easily exceed 50% of the cost of putting a new one in. The old one still has the old R22 in it, which is being phased out. The expense on that is just skyrocketing every year. Like I said, right now, R22 is well over $50 a pound. This unit has approximately 130 pounds in it to 140, somewhere in that area. So in looking at it, replacement of the compressor as your immediate needs, and comparing that to the cost of the new one, which is just under 100,000, we're sitting there saying we wanted the supervisors to make a decision on which way they wanted to go on the unit before we did anything. The biggest issue is the time frame that if I do a compressor, it's still 3 to 4 weeks to get it here. If I order a new unit, it's between 4 and 6 weeks, and we think we can push that to 4 weeks. So sometime in early August, the unit would be setting here, and in the meantime, we would prep everything and be ready for a change out, whether it ends up being underneath an emergency situation that your current chiller, the last half of it goes down, or if we waited till October, November, once cooling season is over, then we could do the change out and have it all ready for next spring. But I'd still have enough time to get it in, get the glycol in the system, get everything adjusted and started up, so we don't have any downtime in the spring when you need it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You're saying that either 100,000 or 50,000? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yep.
What's the life expectancy
15 years is what a commercial life expectancy is on units. Some people obviously get more, some get less. This unit has had kind of a semi-tough life. After the hail storm a few years back, we did end up going and putting all new coils in the condensing unit, the outside unit, on the refrigerant side. And, every time we break into that system and do major component changes like that, we're just adding for more faults and more problems down the road. So, if we put a compressor in, you might get 1 year, you might get 3, you might get 5 years. But the biggest issue is the cost of all the parts, and this unit is no longer made. It's being phased out. In 3 to 5 years, I don't know if we'll be able to find parts for this unit.
That was R22.
Yeah, because it's an R22 unit. Everything has gone to the 410A.
Yeah. How old is our unit, Lance, do you know?
14.
14 years old.
Sounds like it's a little later. Got $1,200,000. I guess off the top of my head, it'd be nice to try and make it till the jail was paid for because we have a little extra free money there to work with. But what you're telling me is, it'd be a $50,000 fix for maybe 4 or 5 years, and $10,000 a year. That's a pretty expensive fix that I would think it'd be better to put, if we could find $100,000, put in new and take that over 15 years. Our cost of ownership and operation could be a lot cheaper over 15 years. It's just going to really strap us right now.
Well, we'll gain efficiency with the new one. There's still Alliant rebates available. We have to contact Alliant and they do a custom rebate for replacement on it. I don't know how much that would be. I can't say until we get the go-ahead to order a unit, then we can get all the efficiency and start working with Alliant for that. You get a new 5-year compressor warranty. There are extended warranties available. Once we get the new unit in, we can get with Train and give a 5 or maybe even up to a 10-year parts and labor warranty on it to cut your maintenance cost, or repair cost over the life of the unit. Those are things that we just have to make decisions on once we get the unit decided on and moving forward.
You were going to ask a question there, Brian?
Yeah, I was, and
I can't hear it.
Terrible with old age.
was Jody there?
Yeah, Jody's over here. Do we have funds available?
Go ahead.
I'm just asking questions so everybody can hear you. The air conditioner kicked on, so it's kind of quiet. It's hard to hear you. We'll have to check this. I'm going to put it on the Wednesday's agenda so we can look for these questions and by Wednesday.
Do we have to bid this out?
We asked that question. They didn't think so. She has not got the answer yet, but she will have the answer by the end of the day.
Well, that's pretty much all I need to know about that.
Ron, do you have any questions or?
No.
I don't have any questions, Dave.
Nope.
Jessica? Jody? I think we're out of questions.
Can we just open the windows? Probably good.
Not from a security standpoint, Brian.
Dave said he could shoot him out though.
Maybe they won't want it so bad if we don't make it. Nope, that's good with me.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for any other business. I think this is everything on this. Hearing no other business, ask for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
You want to second that, Brian? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, Brian.
You bet. Talk to you later.